First hour of trade as bad news from the U.S. company revives fears of a slowing economy. Japan's Nikkei index is down more than 1%. Sydney's main index has lost more than 3%. It now appears there will be no more survivors from last week's school collapse in Haiti. Rescue officials said Monday they had done all they could to ensure no one remained buried under the rubble. At least 89 people were killed when the three-story building came crashing down on Friday. Productive and friendly. That's how U.S. President-elect Barack Obama's meeting at the White House is being described. The one-hour meeting with current President George W. Bush touched on domestic and international issues. The new president-elect frequently campaigned against Mr. Bush's policies, so if he has to put his own beliefs into action, Barack Obama has a lot of work to do. As Jim Acosta reports, there's talk he hopes to make his mark quickly.
Buckle up. Barack Obama's new team is dropping hints it will move fast on what would be a historically massive agenda, with plans to take on the economy, health care, energy, and education. Those issues all linked, says Obama's transition co-chair, John Podesta.
So these are all core, if you will, economic questions, and they need to be tackled together. And I think he'll have a program and a strategy to move aggressively across all those fronts.
Nearly the same message is coming from Obama's chief allies in the Congress.
We are in crisis mode. We've got educational crises. We've got health care crises. We've got financial crisis. We've got consumer protection problems. These things must be managed.
That has some in Washington sounding a familiar alarm bell. Overreach.
You're going to tell me you're going to solve an incredibly difficult economic crisis. At the same time, you're going to reorganizing 14% of the American economy, health care? I think that would be a gigantic overreach.
But one Democratic leader, the number 2 in the House, Steny Hoyer, is downplaying expectations, saying, obviously, we're not going to do health care in the first month or two. Democrats have seen this movie before. Bill Clinton got elected on pocketbook issues, only to get mired in a non-economic controversy over gays in the military. Republicans say they're determined to stop Democrats from overplaying their hand, this time.
There is going to be, I think, a willingness to try and get things done, but at the end of the day, I think you will see a Republican Party in Congress serving as a check and a balance against Mr. Obama's power and Speaker Pelosi's power.
Obama's new team features top insiders from the Clinton administration who remember the perils of overreach well. But there's a phrase buzzing around Washington, the Big Bang, referring to the Obama transition teams to move aggressively on what could be big changes for the country. Jim Acosta, CNN, Washington.
Let's take a closer look now at the private meeting at the Oval Office on Monday with more on what was discussed and some insight on what we can expect during this critical transition period. I'm joined in New York by CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin. And Jeffrey, thanks for joining us today. But obviously, lots of challenges facing the new president. The meeting was just an hour, so what really was discussed in that short period of time?
Well, you know, this is something that the United States does rather well, I think, which is transition power, even between two political leaders and two political parties that are so ideologically opposed to each other. And apparently what they discussed, according to the announcements, were the financial crisis that is now affecting the whole world and the national security threats that Barack Obama is only now getting the full briefings on. A lot of that, of course, is very secret government information, and it's only now that he's the president-elect that he has access to the full range of information about threats to the national security.
And what are some of Bush's executive orders? Now, we've heard a lot about this that will be rescinded by President-elect Obama.
Well, there are a range of issues that the president alone can act on without any input from Congress. For example, can government funds be used for stem cell research? Democrats believe in that. Republicans have stopped a lot of it. Are there restrictions on advising women that they have the right to an abortion? Republicans have stopped that. Democrats believe that women should be entitled to that information. A lot of rules about the environment. The Republicans believe in allowing more access to the environment for industry. The Democrats are generally more pro-protection. several areas. Those are just a few of the areas that the president has that unilateral authority in.
And how quickly can those different things get rescinded? What's the process like?
Some of them will certainly be done on January 20th. This is the kind of thing that presidents do during their transition, which is plan what kind of orders you can issue on the first day with the stroke of the pen. Again, President Obama will want to have his team in place, get advice from his cabinet, which of course hasn't even been selected yet. But there are certain areas, like stem cell research, that he is so clearly on record about that he's going to want to make a statement from day one that there are new people in charge and new rules in effect.
And Jeffrey, we've heard a lot about the closing of Guantanamo Bay. Barack Obama has said that that is something that he is going to do immediately. So how quickly could we see that taking place?
Well, Barack Obama has said that he wants to close Guantanamo Bay. I haven't heard him say immediately, because the real problem here is, what do you do with the people in Guantanamo Bay once you close down the facility? Certainly he will close down the facility because it's become such a toxic symbol for America around the world. Certainly some of the 250 or so inmates there will be released. Some may be charged in American criminal courtrooms. But some of them the government is going to want to keep, but doesn't have the evidence that they can build a regular criminal case against them. Those are the real hard questions. The Bush administration has said, we're going to try some of them in what are been called military tribunals. Barack Obama has criticized those tribunals, but he hasn't said exactly how he wants to substitute for them. So that's why closing Guantanamo, it sounds good, he'll do it, but the real hard questions are, what happens to the people inside? And those haven't been resolved yet.
Oh, there's many hard questions ahead. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Jeffrey Toobin, live for us from New York. Mexico's president has named a new Interior Secretary. He's Fernando Gómez Montt, an attorney who defended bankers and businessmen in high-profile cases. Gómez Montt succeeds Juan Camilo Moreno, who was killed in a plane crash earlier this month. Some have speculated that drug cartels may have been involved in the crash. The new Interior Secretary pledged to take a firm stand against drug-related violence. Compounding the problems in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a cholera outbreak is spreading, raising fears of an epidemic. It's now spread from a refugee camp to the city of Goma. The humanitarian crisis in the country has been worsening since rebels launched their offensive in August. A famous voice falls silent. South African singer Miriam Makeba died of a heart attack in Italy late on Sunday, age 76. She was one of the most famous female vocalists to come out of South Africa. Makeba was also an outspoken critic of segregation and spent 3 decades, I should say, in exile. Making a difference one day at a time. Who will make the final list of CNN heroes? You can help decide. And the White House goes interactive. How President-elect Barack Obama is reaching out through the World Wide Web.